G'day, everybody, and welcome back to our second episode of Feedback Basics with Tanuj Diwan and myself, Aileen Day. It has been so much fun getting to talk to you all things customer feedback and closing that feedback loop. And today is no different. We are going to have a bit of a chin wag about the customer effort score. So last time we talked about the Net Promoter Score, Net Promoter System, and where and when and how you would utilize that method of surveying. And today is all about the customer effort score. So hello, Tanuj.
Hello, Aileen, and hello everyone who would be listening to this. I'm having a bit of a fun always when I'm talking to you, Aileen, and feedback basis is a very catchy name that you gave as well. So let's talk about customer effort score today.
So let's kick off with what actually is a customer effort score.
Okay, so customer effort score, as the name suggests, is kind of like a measurement of how easy as a company we made it for the customer to get something done. So this metric is used generally when you want to make things effortless for the customer. And I believe these are what our customers are expecting these days. They don't want a longer wait time. They want a product which is super easy, like we were just talking about lately and the other one.
Yeah.
So customer effort score, and when it is used, generally, it's mostly, for example, if it's a SaaS product and you are talking about customer onboarding, a SaaS product, typically the customer onboarding is 14 to 30 days or up to 6 months. But let's talk about if we are having a product which has a short onboarding like SurveySensum or, for example, Lately or Loom, right? So you learn these things within 7 to 14 days. So what we want to actually measure here from the customer, that how easy was for them to get started with the product.
Yeah.
So that is one way of asking customer effort score. Because if it is easy, then only they are likely to use it, right? If it's difficult, why would they use it?
Correct.
And 7 to 14 days is good enough to understand, if they have actually used it, that how easy it is.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
I was going to say, and we talked last time about a online product that I had signed up for, and you're saying so the average onboarding is 7 to 14 days, sometimes a bit longer. Now, I actually hadn't used that product yet, and rather than sending me a survey asking how I was utilizing or how I found the product, they were actually using really great smarts and saying, hey, we know you haven't used it. Is everything okay? So I think definitely understanding when to survey your customers is a massive coup in business, but also to know what type of survey to ask is also a huge thing to know. Now, tell us, how does a customer effort score get measured? How does it work?
So most of the times it is used on either a 1 to 5 scale or 1 to 7 scale. 1 to 5 when, like, let's suppose you're measuring CSAT as well, and that's also 1 to 5. So you want to make them similar and don't want to confuse yourself doing this, right? And otherwise 1 to 7 is typically how it is used. So a question says, how easy was it to get your thing done? So it can be your issue resolved, or how easy was to get started with the product. And it would be on a scale of very difficult to very easy. So from 1 to 5 or 1 to 7, very difficult being the 1 and very easy being the 7 or the 5. And better the score, the lesser the effort and more effortless the experience is.
Great.
So it means higher the score. So higher the score is lesser effort and is better. So that's how you measure it. And it's on an average of 1 to 7 or 1 to 5. That's the average score. That's how it's measured.
Right. And then, so when it comes down to understanding your customer effort, it's so important to use it at the right points, right? And we talked about this last time. So you just mentioned before, using a customer effort score to understand the customer experience around using a support function, for example. Yes. So last episode, we talked about why we disagree with a lot of organizations using a net promoter question at the end of any dealings that you might have with a call center. Right. And generally, the reason is because I don't need to measure your level of loyalty at that point. What I really know is, or what I need to know, is the effort that you went to. Was it worth it? Was it easy? Right. Did you get it resolved? Right. And so we start to walk into, you talked about CSAT before, so a customer satisfaction, and ultimately knowing what type of survey question to ask at what point of the customer experience journey is absolutely imperative. Otherwise, you're not going to know any more than you did before you asked the question.
Absolutely. So what happens, like you mentioned, sometimes because it's difficult to use all three metrics. So people tend to say, if I'm measuring NPS, why not measure NPS and make it all like a single function where I'm judging everything, right? But that is right for you, but not for the customer, right? Correct. Because if you're asking an NPS score after a support interaction, or for example, after an Uber ride, and one day you are happy with the Uber ride, the other day you are not happy with the Uber ride. So the NPS question doesn't make sense at all in those kind of scenarios. And same goes for the support one. Sometimes you're happy with the support, sometimes you're not. So whether your likelihood of recommending someone would change on a support call.
Yeah.
So that doesn't happen. So that's why, like you rightly mentioned, asking the right question at the right time is the most important thing. So customer effort is generally measured like on the onboarding, and also people have started measuring on the support. Why? Because if now you think about it, when do people actually call us? They call us when they cannot find a solution, right?
Correct.
They cannot see, so they'll look for help articles. They will prefer live chat. Then it's the last stage they try to call us because they did not find anything anywhere, right? That's how 80% of the customers are behaving. So now when they're calling you, they want you to get the issues resolved quickly. It's not, but what actually happens when you call them, and if the issue cannot get resolved quickly, they'll say they will call back, and that never happens. That's why you laughed, right?
Yeah.
Or they would say, I cannot fix it, let me transfer you to another person. And that transfer and the wait time keeps on looping and looping. And every agent that they talk to, they have to explain themselves again.
Yeah. Terrible customer experience.
And it is common because people are not thinking about, in the customer support centers, are not thinking about that making customers' life easy. Create more articles so that people can read on their own, right? Or train your agents in such a way that your job is not to delight customer all the time. Just make it as easy to get the issue resolved.
Oh, preach. I don't want to be delighted. I just want what I need. Just give me what I need. I don't need a show. I don't need dinner and drinks. Just answer my question. Help me with my issue. And that's the other issue, is that the majority of businesses are heading towards using AI support functions. So you mentioned like chat bots and chat lines and stuff on their websites and whatnot. Now, I can tell you, as a consumer and somebody who has a very keen eye on what that customer experience journey is looking like as it folds out, by the time I have picked up the phone to call somebody and I have already Googled trying to find the answer, I have already looked up the help function on the website, I have already spoken to chatbots and got nowhere, and then I pick up the phone to call your organization, I then have to go through generally voice recognition. Right? I hate voice recognition. But then I have to go through voice recognition, and then I have to sit on hold, and then I have to speak to a wonderful team member who I'm sure didn't ask for any of this. They didn't ask for any of this. They just wanted to go to work and get paid, right? They wanted to do a job, hopefully do it well, earn their money, go home, live a life of, whatever value. But instead, they get me on the other end of the phone. And to be honest, because I'm in this industry, I come out with a level of empathy unbeknownst to most people.
Yeah.
But anyone that doesn't see all the stuff that goes on in the background and have some insight into why things are the way they are doesn't have that same empathy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So the effort that you put your organization, that you put your employees through, right, that you in turn put your customers through,
right,
is a dismaying experience.
Absolutely.
And so to then ask me if I want to be loyal to you.
I wanted to come to that point. Yeah, go ahead, Aileen.
I don't care for loyalty right now. What I care to let you know, though, is the effort that was involved in getting to this point.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you, as a business owner or a leader of an organization, even if it is just you, yourself, and the street lamp outside, you have to understand at what point your customers are needing to communicate the effort involved in being a part of your organization.
Absolutely. So one other thing that I found, so like we wanted to talk about the difference between CSAT and an effort score, right?
Yeah.
So the difference is CSAT is just measuring a satisfaction with that event, right? It's not asking you for whether it was effortless or not. It's just asking for how satisfied overall you were. Yeah. So if you talk about Uber, for example, when you take a Uber ride and they ask you for how satisfied were you with the ride, that makes sense because there was not an effort taking that ride. The effort only is booking that ride.
Correct. Yeah. Well,
booking that ride.
Sometimes it's an effort.
Yeah, sometimes.
But you're right. In generally speaking, it's a CSAT. It's a customer satisfaction question that should be getting asked
at that time, right? And if I talk about the support, like you mentioned, I really loved your point that you can ask both the questions. It's not that you have to measure just one thing. You can ask after the support call, how satisfied were you with the overall call and the wait time and everything, and how much effort that it took to get your issue resolved. Yeah. And was it resolved? Like you can ask these three questions without asking an NPS and get the result. So
you will get a better result. And the other thing that I really enjoy when we talk about understanding that data and looking through those insights is when we use SurveySensum and you've got the reporting that starts to tell a story. Right. Because if let's take, for example, we can use the support example because it's a good example and we've all experienced it.
Yes.
That you contact a support center. And as I said before, the effort involved was obscene to get the issue resolved. And this is a real life. This is actually a thing that has happened. And I'm sure many of us watching can feel these feels. Right. But if I was to be asked at the end of that call a customer satisfaction question, so how satisfied was I with the event, as in the resolution? Now, it might have been that the person on the call was able to resolve my concern, and therefore I would be satisfied. But that doesn't tell the whole story, does it? It doesn't tell the story about what it took to get to that point. Right. So understanding the point in which you're going to ask what types of questions, and it might be that you actually ask both a CSAT and a customer effort. You have to do you have to figure out again what's right for you and what's going to help you create those insights. But you can use that SurveySensum platform to start to tell a really indicative story of both those measures and how they line up against your net promoter scores as well.
Right. I absolutely loved the point that you mentioned, which people forget, and I want to re-highlight this again, that when you're asking a CSAT, it is just talking about the support function or that call. You're asking that question, but the effort for getting the issue resolved is even 1-2 hours before you made that call.
Correct.
When you are finding for things and you're not able to find on Google or their help center or the chatbot, you did not get any things there, and then you decided to call. So that is the whole effort which we have to reduce as an organization to make customers more loyal. I wouldn't say that customer effort score would be will always be directed to loyalty or even the CSAT, but customer effort score definitely gives you one thing, that it tells you if the effort score is high, the people would be more disloyal. If you can't say that there is a correlation between loyalty and effort score, but there is definitely a relation between the effort and the disloyalty. Correct. So that's what I would say for her. Yeah,
correct. Absolutely agree. And ultimately, the sooner you can start to grow those insights in your organization and ask the right type of question at the right time, so important, and start to, and again, the beauty of that SurveySensum platform is that you not only get to see that information in real time, but you also get the capacity, and this is so important, to close that feedback loop or to take action on that feedback loop. So at the point where you're receiving that information, you actually have the ability as a leader in your organization to go, oh, wow, that's actually not what we ever wanted. Let's take action. Or on the flip side, like, it's not all doom and gloom. Right. I'm sure people out there are doing a wonderful job. You could actually at the same time find that somebody is doing really, really well, and you continue to receive this wonderful feedback. That is, again, as a leader, your opportunity to go and close that feedback loop, show some gratitude to the customer for their feedback, and go back to that employee and show some gratitude to them as well, because they are your first line of advocates to your organization.
Absolutely.
Right? It's not just customer experience. We're talking about employee experience as well. And what better way to, help employees have a better experience than to be grateful for the work and effort that they put in to reducing the effort of your customers.
Yeah. And one more thing that will help customer effort, if not about customer effort, but reducing the customer effort, how it helps is, for example, if you have more effort, if the people cannot find things on chat or self help, for example, help articles or videos or your content, they would make more calls to you. When they make more calls, you need more people, right? And you need more time to handle them. So if you're increasing the customer effort is also directly related to the cost that you are going to put as an operational cost, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
absolutely.
So reducing the effort will directly impact the cost that you are catering for the OPEX of the support team. Yeah, that's the last point. Yeah.
And I wrote a blog not long ago about just that, the 5 things you can go and look at in your business before you go and cut your team to save money. Go and look at these 5 other things. And one of those things was just that, was the way that you do business. And if the way that you do business is causing more effort for your customers, then you are in turn going to spend more trying to resolve it, and therefore ruining your bottom line. So do it better.
So I think that was a really good and short, crisp conversation, Aileen. Hope our audience found the difference between a CES, a CSAT, and
NPS.
And NPS. Maybe we'll talk about all 3 together one day. That's it. Triplets. So you have any last words for this one?
No, I would say thank you, and thanks for joining us again, and we look forward to bringing you another episode of Feedback Basics very shortly. Until then, go and check out SurveySensum at surveysensum.com. I'm Aileen Day.
And thank you everyone for listening. And she always talks about just SurveySensum. You talk to her about how she can help you get the business done. So she's one of the great CX consultants I know. So she'll be a good fit for you.
Look at us.
Have a good day, guys.
Bye.